Okay, so I've got an ad agency. We got 15 staff members, and we work with clients all over the world. And we do integrated digital marketing. And so basically what we do is anything digital, and we'll basically do anything for money if you offer us enough money. But we like to specialize mostly in digital. And so the awesome thing about what we do is we bring all your channels together in one cohesive unity. But I think the main thing for me is that it's all got to work. So I'm a marketing manager by trade, and for me, digital's got to work, social media's got to work, and I give a lot of talks, and a lot of people are like, well, social media is not working. How do I get my social media to work? So here I am to tell you about how to take your social media to the next level and how to make it work. But I've got some bad news for you, because really, social media doesn't work. So you were right all along, and you can go back to your bosses and tell them Dylan Kolstad told you that. And the caveat is really that it doesn't work for brands. And let me tell you why. Social media is not sales media. So every time your boss looks at you and says, yeah, but how many posts are you doing, and why hasn't it brought me any sales? You must remind them it's not called sales media, it's called social media. So people aren't there necessarily to buy, they're there to be social. However, there are Jedi mind tricks that you can perform upon these poor people who have signed up to follow your site, and you can get them to buy. And we'll touch on a few of these things later. But social media predominantly doesn't work for brands, and I'll tell you why. And it's really because social media is built around individuals. And so there's this awesome, what I call the rise of the cult of you. So everybody sitting here is unique and has this amazing, unique personality. And no matter what your personality is, it's as unique as your fingerprints. So believe it or not, there are people who are just as unique as you and are actually interested in the type of content that you can produce. And that's what social media was created for. It's basically decentralized all of the publications. No longer do I need to go straight to a publication and beg them to place my press release, because I am a publication. No longer do I have to beg Roy Sansari to feature me on their cover, because I am going direct to their market, and their market is following me. And so that's the rise of social media, as you are all very aware. So about a year ago, I started investigating this cult of you. Like, how do I become an influencer? What does it take? So here I am selling social media. We do social media for so many clients. What does it take to become like a social media influencer, and how does it all work? So I started an Instagram channel, which I would love for all of you to follow me. It's Dylan Kolstad, and subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're at it, please. I got like no subscribers on YouTube. I've got to work that one next. But within a very short space of time, I had 10,000 followers on Instagram. And so what I started learning is that people buy into people. Now you're sitting here as a brand and you're wondering, okay, how does this translate to me as a business, my business? How does this translate to my clients? And that's where it becomes really interesting, because the more I sit with young people, and specifically millennials, who are young people compared to me, the more I realize that it really is true that millennials are influenced by one thing, and that is trust and authenticity. So how many of you have got ad blockers running? So I gave a talk the other day, and there was about 10, 15 people in the room. I was training them on influencer marketing. And I asked the room, who's got ad blockers? And all the millennials put up their hands. And last week I was doing usability testing for a big bank. And one of the millennials said to me, I said to him, okay, here's the banner ad that you saw. He says, I wouldn't have seen this, I've got ad blockers on. I'm like, okay, so let's pretend you saw it somehow, and you clicked on it, you ended up on this website. Immediately, he was like, I don't trust the website. I don't trust it. Looks like a bank. I'm like, well, it is a bank. He's like, I don't trust it. I don't like it. He spent about 10 minutes telling me why he doesn't trust it, doesn't like it. So then I had an idea. I said to him, imagine you came from a blog website. Imagine you came from a site where a trusted, neutral, independent blogger had reviewed 10 banks. And one of them happened to be this bank that you were now on. Immediately, his entire mindset changed, And I mean, I've read these articles that tell me these stats, but I was literally seeing it with my own two eyes. Immediately he said, okay, so since I came from a trusted blogger, okay, cool. All right, no, okay, I trust the site now. And he went through the entire process of using the site, referring back to the blogger about 4 or 5 times, saying, I came from that blogger and I trust what they said, so I'm going to carry on because I trust the blogger. So now enter social media, and here's the problem. Nobody believes you. Nobody believes you. If you're talking from a brand point of view, if you ever slap your brand on something, immediately you lose believability and credibility. Now here's the thing, you got to be doing it. So I wrote a blog, go and check it out. I wrote a blog on the Shift One website called The 5 Levels of Social Media. Okay, so it talks you through the 5 levels of social media. It's like Maslow's hierarchy for social media, Kolstad's hierarchy of social media. And at the top, at the pinnacle, is authenticity and trust. But you have to be doing all the other layers, okay? You have to be doing your, what I call Me Too social media, which is what most people are doing. I gave a talk at this big conference, and a big ad agency stood up before me, and they gave an example of what they classified as next level social media. So what they thought is next level social media is paying millions of rands and sending a huge TV crew up to the Serengeti and filming elephants and stuff like that, and just spending a fortune, and that this is next level social media. And it really isn't, because it actually offended me, because next level social media is the opposite. It's the complete effing opposite. It's cheap, and it's raw, and it's a little bit wobbly and shaky, kind of, you know, and it's believable and it's authentic, and it's not made by you, the brand. It's made by the people that you speak to. It's made by your customers. If you really, really, really immerse yourself into the shoes of your customers, which we don't, because who has time? But like one of our clients is a tire manufacturer. So a big community of theirs is drifting. Anybody heard of drifting? It's what young guys do with too much testosterone, too little brains, and a lot of magical thinking that they'll never die. So they just go be skidding around on them tires, okay? So now I've got my little social media writers and my content team creating content for this audience. Like, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. We send people into the communities to find the voices in the community, and those people create the content for us because it's believable. And we give them a podcast, and we brand the podcast, and we set them up as influencers. Because the most powerful thing you can do as a marketer is to turn your customers into influencers and your followers into influencers. Imagine your social media content is all being made by your customers and your followers. Imagine all your sales are being done by your followers. You can fire your sales team. Content team can go and freelance. Make 10,000 Rand a month. So it's about trust. And there's only one thing about trust. It's not bullshit. Excuse me. It's believable and it's authentic. So you can't start your own influencer channel and try and be somebody you're not. And that's the beauty. You don't have to be somebody you're not. So you're strange and interesting and a little bit quirky, odd. Maybe your girlfriends said some bad things about you in the past, but there are a lot of people like that out there, and you can start your own channel and, you know, get a following and, you know, maybe make a lifestyle out of it. So as marketers, it's our job to find the content that resonates, and it's that content that is authentic, and it can only be authentic if it comes from a true place. And you cannot be pretending to be something you are not, which is why nobody trusts branded content. So you got to be doing it, you got to be ticking that box, but just be aware that it's not believable, okay? So you have to have your layers of content marketing, and one of those layers has got to be empowering your audience to create their own content. So one of the things we like to do is to follow a CEO around with a camera. You're like, I don't see my CEO doing that. Most CEOs are very camera shy. And the reason I like to do this is because, CEOs like to stand up once a year and have a talk about the vision and the values. How many of you got values, poster of values stuck up on the wall? I bet you integrity is one of them. Honesty. It's all the same. So there's nothing better than if I followed your senior management team with a camera and I displayed how they live the values. And every morning, the staff log into their reality show and watch what the heck senior management does for a living, because nobody knew. And now we know. So it'll be like, guys, I'm going into a board meeting. I can't tell you much about it, but it's really exciting. All I can say is China. Guys, it's 4 in the morning. I've just come out of this board meeting. It's amazing. I'm like so exhausted. And all I can say is that in 6 months' time, something amazing will be happening. And China is something. And we show how the CEO is painting a school, and we show how the CEO is living the values and giving back and donating blood, and how the CEO meets with the staff and actually how they live their life. And in doing so, we communicate the values, we communicate the vision in a way that's believable and authentic. Yeah? Make sense? Awesome. So, we all know that the way people consume media has changed. We all know that radio is down, TV is down, newspapers are down, and digital is up, okay? So if you're not actively present in digital, we all know that you're going the way of the dodo. So a lot of my people that attend my talks are actually the publications trying to figure out how to harness digital. It's a little bit late, but it's not too late. I keep saying to them, get your viewers and your readers to create the content for you, because they're going to create content that's fresher, newer, hipper, hotter, more relevant than anything you're going to create. So I'm just going to do this. Click. Click. Thank you. So did you know, I read a study a week ago on Reddit. Anybody love Reddit? Anybody over Facebook and loving Reddit? You'll get there. You'll get there. So I was on Reddit the other day. Some teenagers are spending 7 hours a day on their phones. 7 hours a day. I mean, they are literally plugged in, mainlining digital communications. And I can tell you they're not consuming branded content. They're consuming peer-to-peer content. So how many of you are doing influencer marketing? Awesome. So influencer marketing is amazeballs. It's got its pros, it's got its cons. Some people think it's already dying. You can do it, you can use it. It just needs to still remain authentic and believable. So if it's not authentic and believable, it's not working. So one of our clients they make these stone walls, fake stone walls. One of their biggest influencers is a mega interior decorator influencer that refuses to take money and is an absolute brand ambassador. So if you can find your brand ambassadors, people, your customers who are super in love with your products, those are your influencers. It's that simple. Don't pay them. Don't pay them. Because the minute you start paying them, it starts being ugly and dirty. And it starts being like a transaction. And then the communications feel forced, and you really immediately people can sense the inauthenticity in the posts because there's money behind it. So that's the best way to do influencer marketing, is to find your real people who are mega fans. And they don't have to be huge, they can be small. The main thing is they just have to be authentic and believable. And then it's about content being shared. In the olden days, I know in Joburg, people still have braais. I'm an ex-Joburger. So all we used to do is have a braai, because there's nothing else to do except go to the mall, pay money. So social media is the best way to get word of mouth going. If you're doing it right, your content's going to be shared. If you're not doing it right, your content's not going to be shared. Shared content is 80% more read and engaged with than unshared content. I won't read something if it hasn't been shared, because I think there's something wrong with it, and maybe I'm too dumb to know what it is. And so I'm not going to comment on this because I'll be the only one So if your content's not being shared and it's not being liked, it's not going to go anywhere. But if it is being shared, and if you are really genuinely connecting with your audience and you're immersed in your customer segments, your content is going to be shared. And that will take your content to the next level. Because social media has given you the opportunity to be the star of your own reality show. So now I'm taking off your business hat and I'm putting on your private hat. You're sitting here in your individual capacity. And I think South Africans are all very entrepreneurial. And I think at the heartbeat of most people sitting in a room employed is like, one day I want to do my own thing. So imagine you started now building your own brand as a thought leader and an expert in whatever it is that you are super excited about. So I've got a free workbook. I will email you. If you email me, if you subscribe to my channels, I will send you. It's one click, one little click. Subscribe to my channels, and I will send you a free personal branding workbook that will help you identify your own personal brand, like your true north. What are you passionate about? What's your content going to be about? Who are you speaking to? And if you take the time to workshop that, you can start building a following now so that one day when you drop the mic and walk away from your corporate job, you have a soft landing, not like other freelancers who quit their day job with no customers. And then they struggle. You want to quit your day job and you want to actually have an audience because people every month are subscribing to your blog. And then you publish it into an ebook. And then they buy it because they've been following you on the blog. And they've also been following your life on Instagram. So that's how you do it, guys. Like if you want to turn yourself into a product, whatever that might be. I had one guy who said, no, he doesn't want to have his face on the camera. He just wants his voice. I'm like, do it. You can be that Instagram channel that's just that dreamy voice. You just do something and be different, because that's the next thing, is you absolutely need to stand out. Now, everybody's unique. But here's the problem. Did anybody walk through these halls and wonder how these companies are surviving? Everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's selling the same thing. So how are you going to stand out, and how is your content going to be different? Because there are a million YouTubers, and South Africans are so far behind on YouTube, it's ridiculous. We're so far behind. I mean, there are kids with YouTube channels in America that are like 7 years old. They've got millions of subscribers. And I'm like, I wrote a blog called South African Businesses, Why Are You Ignoring YouTube? It's one of the easiest channels. My mother is 75 years old. Whenever she has a sermon, you can see where I inherited this from. She pops open her laptop. She records her sermon. She goes onto YouTube, uploads it, takes the link, bursts it out on Twitter with hashtags, gets on her email distribution list and puts everyone in the CC field, not in the BCC field. They're all there. Guys, this is my latest video. Puts it out on Facebook. And she's 75. So what's your excuse? There's no excuse. There's this great app called YouTube Capture. There's this amazing app called Instagram. There are no barriers except your own limiting thoughts and your own judgmental thoughts about yourselves and the thoughts that you think people are going to think about you when you start putting your name out there. That guy, who does he think he is? So yeah, go to the grave with your dreams. That's the way to do it. Social media has removed all the barriers. Start blogging, start writing. Maybe you suck at writing, make videos then. But you know, any skill gets better the more you practice. But if you don't practice, you don't get better. So start now. There's nothing stopping you. Start now, start now, start now. Do it. And maybe LinkedIn's your platform. It's a business platform. It's very formal, very serious. There are people there. But work out how you're going to stand out. Because the main thing is, if I Google your name, you got to rank, dude. Like, you got to rank. I mean, when it comes now to job interviews, if you don't rank, you ain't getting that job. I mean, I want to see your articles. It's so easy. You write a blog, you mail it out to 5 places. Maybe one of them picks it up. It's that easy. Get published. Get your Instagram channel. Update your LinkedIn. But your name, you have at least got to rank for your name. And if you share the name with a famous person, then you got your job cut out for you. But you can do it. Don't be hard sell. So as a brand, all you want to do is be hard sell, right? Your boss is telling you, sell, 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 hard sell. You can take out social media ads. Now, don't get me wrong. Here's a tip. Are you listening? How many of you need sales from social media? Lead generation ads. Yeah, doing that, tick. Have you got automated emails set up? You need at least 6 automated emails going out to the people who responded to your lead generation ads. Landing page optimization. Send them from an ad to a landing page. Those who didn't fill out their email address, they get a remarketing cookie. They see the banner on Facebook. They click on the banner. You get the email address. 6 automated mailers go out to them until they respond. Boom, sales done. Social media can sell. It can sell. But your content can't sell. Your content has to be awesome. Yeah? And if you're not able to come up with original content, number 1, get your followers to come up with the content. And number 2, just find awesome content. Curate good content. So if I follow you, you don't have to have written all those 20 great thought pieces that you're sharing, but you are sharing the premium thought pieces for your industry. So your Twitter handle is the premium channel for your industry and your niche and your LinkedIn. It may not be your articles, but at least it's other people's articles. Nobody judges the art gallery curator because he didn't paint the paintings. But he's the one who spent his time driving around to the farmhouses, finding the artists, bringing that type of art in. And so you follow that curator because you like their taste. And so you can do that. You can establish yourself as a curator of great content. Young Turks, which is one of the top followed channels on YouTube, was a curator of content for many, many years before they produced any of their own original content. So the main thing is to just get started. Another great starting place is read a book. How many of you read books? Yay! Reading books is like the best thing ever. And ideally, they're business books because the other books are kind of more like junk food for the brain. So Warren Buffett, he reads 8 hours a day. Every top leader, I read about Bill Gates. He takes off 1 week, every once in a while he takes off 1 week at a time, and he will consume 112 books, white papers, or publications, 112 books and articles in 1 week. He will just immerse himself. So make yourself smarter by reading other people's smart thoughts, and as a starting point, share their wisdom, because there's no shame in that either. And here's the main thing. Once you start, you can't stop. So how are we doing for time? So if you look at Casey Neistat, anybody love Casey? Anybody love Gary Vee? These guys are consistently producing content, at least 1 YouTube video a day. And that's where the growth comes from. It's the consistency of content. You have got to be putting your content out there regularly because your followers and your subscribers want to know what time it's coming out. I have friends who every morning at, I think it's 9 in the morning, they get their cup of coffee and they wait for their latest Casey video. And they have their breakfast and they watch their Casey video first thing. Because they know, like clockwork, 9 o'clock, that video drops. The guy's been shooting the whole day. He edits the whole night. He drops it the next morning. It's a hectic commitment. But they've made a career out of it now. He's living the life. I mean, the other day, Nike came up to him, and talk about an awesome influencer campaign. Nike came to him and said, I want to make an ad. I got like $100,000 budget. I'm going to give it to you. What do you think you can do? He comes up with an idea. Him and his friend are going to travel the world on the money for as long as they can, and they'll video record the whole thing. And obviously, they'll wear Nike shoes and Nike tops and Nike T-shirts and talk about, how they robbed Nike. But that's the whole concept. So that's what he did. He comes up with a video. He says, Nike gave us $100,000 for an ad. Me and my friend blew it traveling the world. We blew it traveling the world. Here's the video of our trip. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, amazing. They're laughing. The consumers are watching how they ripped off Nike. Nike wins. Casey wins, the viewers win, everybody wins. That's influencer marketing done properly. It's authentic, it's believable, and it's consistent. So, and it really does take time. If you look at how long it's taken most of these influencers to become overnight successes, it's like at least a year, 2 years, 3 years of consistent everyday posting. Gary Vee had only 200 odd subscribers on his YouTube channel. He was posting every single day about his dad's wine business until New York Times picked him up, and suddenly he shot to 200,000 views. So it's about the consistent dedication and not quitting and doing it and not giving up, and one day, boom, you can quit your day job. And I know you're all really busy because you're like, I got a full-time job. How am I supposed to have time to do this? It's just really about what motivates and inspires you. So if you can motivate and inspire your customers to take over your social media job, you can quit. And you can go and pursue your dream. But the best thing you can do is give your customers access to your social media and give your social media access to your customers. The worst thing you can do is carry on doing the same thing over and over and over and copying your competitors and just everybody doing the same mediocre level of social media. Because everybody's doing what I call tick the box social media. We're all just churning it out. There's like a whole happy industry of people just churning out content. It's not next level. It's not moving the needle in any way. It's not authentic. The only way social media will move the needle is if you incorporate huge amounts of authenticity into it. But carry on doing things the same way you're doing them now. If you don't change one thing after this talk, you're going to be exactly the same in a year's time at the next Madex Expo. You got to change something in order for something to change, right? So if you're very happy with the way things are now, then don't change anything. It's working for you. Really, don't change it, okay? But if you're not happy, decide what you're going to change and then actually do it. And it can just be one thing, just one thing at the end of this. Decide what you're going to change in your business, in your job, in your content plan, in your comm strategy, in your social media, in your messaging, in your communications, in your vision, in your dream. Just change one thing. That's all you need to do if you want something to change. Because the last thing you want to do is go the way of the BlackBerry. Now, I want to go even further back. Does anybody remember the Palm Pilot? Yeah, the old folks in the room. Don't look that old. You don't look that old. So I loved the Palm Pilot. It was so cool. It was this little thing, and you could write on it, and I'd even mastered the way that you wrote on it, and everything was on this little Palm Pilot. But I had a Palm Pilot and a big brick phone, like these two huge things. And I can just imagine the CEO at Palm Pilot going, yeah, no, that's awesome. And then some young upstart would have said, like the marketing manager, can't we just merge the two? Like, can we put the phone in the Palm Pilot? No, we don't do that. We don't make phones. That's for Nokia. We make Palm Pilots. But if he had, it would have been the precursor to the iPhone. Touch screen, black and white. And now they're gone, long gone. I mean, they're not even known anymore. So the main point is that social media is constantly evolving. If you as a marketer and a marketing practitioner are not experimenting, you are going to be left behind. You have got to be experimenting, and there's no greater experiment than experimenting in your personal capacity as an influencer in your little micro space. Whatever little microscopic thing you love. You can just have a tiny following, because the best influencers are micro-influencers with small, dedicated followings. So there's no pressure on you to be like a mega influencer. Just live your passion happily and learn through it, and then apply those learnings to your practice as a digital marketer, because you don't want to be obsolete. You do not want to be obsolete. And social media is changing at such a ridiculously fast rate. I mean, we're a little bit behind, But already things are moving on at such a fast pace. And if your feet are not in it and you're not getting wet, you're going to be left behind. And it's just a matter of starting and starting today. So, number one, decide what you are about. Now, this can be for you, this can be for your brand, this can be for a customer segment, this can be for a product, this can be for a channel. But decide what your authentic communications are about. What is your messaging? Who is your market? Who are you trying to reach? What are you about? Who are you? Who's your audience? Pick your channels. So then decide, okay, if I'm focusing on this audience, and if this is my content, LinkedIn's definitely for me, YouTube's definitely for me. Whatever the case might be, pick your channels, and you only need to pick one channel. So now you're sitting there putting so much pressure on yourself. Everybody just take a deep breath. You just need to master one channel at a time. Just one channel, like one. Like be the best Facebook practitioner there is in South Africa. And then you can move on to the next channel and then master that channel. And every channel is freaky when you start in it. Like Reddit, I was like, what the heck? So weird. And I got downvoted, and I was like, I don't even know. And now I'm like mastering it. Karma points for me. Same with Twitter. I was like, I don't even know what's going on. It's like so confusing. And is this a public message? Can everybody see this? I feel like I'm embarrassing myself in front of the whole world, except nobody's watching you. Nobody sees your posts, so you can practice away. Nobody's going to notice. You're safe. Just don't say anything hectically controversial. Pick your channel, master one channel, oh, I just want to drop this nugget. So as a marketer, this is just for free, okay? As a marketer, I always used to think, I'm such a generalist, I wish I was a specialist. And I've actually met people, like some of my clients in Canada, they're specialists in Evernote. This one guy is an Evernote guru. And that's all. One app, the guru of that. And we in South Africa, we're just trying to know everything. So pick one thing and like be the best in that in the whole wide world, whatever that might be. Be the best. Read all the books. Watch all the videos. Follow all the influencers who are already specialists in that. And boom, you've got a career. You're a specialist. So, yeah, LinkedIn. We don't have LinkedIn gurus in South Africa. We've got so few gurus because we're all trying to do everything. Decide what you're about, pick your channel, love your channel, and start now. That's all you need to do. You need to leave this conference and you need to do one thing differently, either from my talk, anybody's talk, just do something. Because the world is waiting for your voice. And yet there's never been such a time as now for you to have a global audience and to reach people globally with your message. Because it's never been easier. There are no barriers except your own limitations that you have created, and they are illusions. They're not even real. So that's all I want to leave you with. If you're looking for next level social media, you know where to find me. Thank you very much.